Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm excited to bring to you one of the most positive guys I know, Mr. Alex Rado. Woo!
What up, Davidson? Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have you on the podcast. You're always such a bright, happy, and like such a fun person. Like I feel like after anyone speaks with you, like they're just instantly like just in a better mood,
No,
more
I,
positive energy.
I appreciate that. I mean, even though I'm only the 109th person on here and it only took me this long, I'm finally here meeting my dreams and excited to have the conversation.
That's awesome. Yeah, episode 109. We had a lot of folks that have gone through a similar route with BLP, which is the Business Leadership Program. For those of you who don't know, it's like a really intense. It's really hard to get to make that program. So it's I would say I know GE had like a pretty like kind of like a rotation program. It's like the modern day GE like rotation program.
No, I mean, it was definitely a intensive process to get into, but one that was well worth it. And really excited that I was able to start my career at LinkedIn, and can say that I've been here for about 2.5 years, and no regrets whatsoever. I'm really happy with the journey that I've taken, and I would definitely recommend to anyone that's out there any type of program that allows you to dip your toes into different areas and try out different things is super important to
Hmm.
developing through the rest of your career.
Yeah, so I know everyone takes something different from the BLP program. What would you say is like one of the biggest takeaways having gone through that rigorous program?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually have a selfish answer here, and I'm a big believer in your overall net worth is the value of your
Mm,
network. And to be able to start out at an organization like LinkedIn with so
mm,
many other high performers, high achievers that were just getting their foot into their career and trying to
mm,
figure out what they wanted to do is my biggest takeaway is really seeing just how many talented people are out there and to be able to call all of them my friends and to be
mm,
able to lean on them in the future and for them to lean on me is something that's super exciting and really something that I value. And
mm.
I'm a big believer in your network will take you a long way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember when I was younger, people did emphasize that. They're like, yeah, network is important. And I didn't really like truly realize that until like maybe even starting. I think LinkedIn really helped me see that as I continue to see like the good that the network does for the community.
For sure. Um, yeah, I will definitely say, and that's the beauty of LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is just a larger scale network, and it's so much more massive than just what my network is. But for me to be able to take advantage of my network, you taking advantage of your network, and then LinkedIn giving a community for millions upon millions of people to connect them with people that they wouldn't have otherwise had access to is really exciting. And that's a big reason why I love working for LinkedIn because it's just a scaled out version of something that's I'm super passionate about, which is networking, building that network and providing people with opportunities and relationships that they otherwise wouldn't have had.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even getting into LinkedIn, I leveraged LinkedIn. So I reached out to Garrett Rothos, and um, he always says like, yeah, he was the one out of the 10 referrals that finally got the job at LinkedIn because it's so competitive,
Yeah, no, I mean,
So I love it when he says that.
it's only fitting that you got a job through LinkedIn though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. I would say like a lot of people like are afraid to reach out to others. Like maybe they're like, oh, we don't have any, we're not from the same university. Like, why would they ever get back to me? But I always tell people like you'd be surprised. Like people want to help others. It's
Yeah.
just people are afraid of that first initial like reach out. But once you develop that habit, I feel like it becomes easier.
I think networking with new people, it's all about how you approach it, right? Like if you go in with a plan and you have a true understanding of why you're reaching out to this person, then it really starts the relationship off the bat on a strong note because then you're
Mhm.
being a lot more intentional with your time, but also their time as well. And making sure that you're connecting with the right people and being able to provide the value back to them. But also part of networking is like, yeah, I can reach out and meet someone, but if I don't touch base with them in a year,
Mhm.
2 years, 3 years, or I haven't been thoughtful along the journey,
Mhm.
then it's tough. It's tougher, right? But if you are thoughtful, you have that conversation, you reach out to that person, and then you follow up on it and continue that
Mm.
relationship, that's when it's really strong.
Yeah, the follow-up is key. I feel like a lot of people do that initial, but the consistency and then like you said, the thoughtfulness of like, hey, I thought of you, and just like even if it's like a little note, right? It just shows that you're making an effort.
Well, I don't think I need to tell anyone that this, but I mean, Davidson is the king of follow-ups. I mean, there's no one better out there at being more thoughtful with how he approaches it and being able to pull things from his conversation you had with him and to then mention it in that follow-up, whether it's a handwritten note or an email. Um,
Hmm.
it's pretty cool with the approach that you have, and I love it.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot. Yeah, that actually
I'm
like
expecting to get one once a month now, just to let you know.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like since like in the pandemic, I would say the last couple months, I haven't been as like good with it. Like I mean, I would send like a ton of like notes, right, handwritten notes, but I think I'm like dialed it down a little bit. But it's always fun though. I feel like I should get back into it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's all about what you want to put into it. And quite frankly, if it's an email, if it's an end mail, it's just as effective because it's showing the person that you're thinking about them and that you appreciated the time that you spent with them.
Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah.
And I know that Liam is your boy. I know you guys are pretty close, right?
Yeah.
So
So Liam, for those that don't know, he was on one of the episodes earlier on this year,
yeah.
and we're roommates out in Chicago. He's on LinkedIn Sales Solutions. I'm in Learning Solutions, and we're both AEs at LinkedIn, talking over each other all day. So it's an absolute madhouse in here.
But to your point, like in network, I'm really grateful that you connected me with Liam because he's such a great guy, and you guys are both very similar. And then also connecting me with Leslie. They've been like really cool. And then it's cool because as I talk to other people, they also know Leslie and Liam, and then it's just cool how like everything works, right? Like you just don't know, and then one day they're like, oh yeah, I actually listened to your episode with Leslie, and vice versa. Like she actually still listens to my podcast, and then she actually saw someone else. Like I think they were in the car together, and she's like, "Wait, are you listening to his podcast?" And then like I was just like, "It's such a small world, like how that happens."
It's a spider web of connections, and it's really cool. It's those second, third degree connections that are really powerful that allows you to open doors that you otherwise wouldn't have thought were to be open.
Yeah. But yeah, Alex, I definitely want to like tap into a little bit more about like your mentality and like how you choose to just smile and have fun all day. Like, is I guess like how do you approach, because and at the end of the day we are in the middle of a pandemic still, right? But you would never know that like if you speak to you, right? It's like for you it's kind of like, I'm not saying like you're ignoring that there's like a pandemic, but it just seems like it doesn't necessarily like phase you. You still seem pretty like optimistic, and like you're always like good at going with the like adapting to changes and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point, but at the same time, everyone has their bad moments, those moments when they feel down, when they feel upset, when they're not as positive. And I'm a big believer of don't take your baggage out the door with you. So when I'm working with my teammates, with my friends, talking to someone at the grocery store, for example, there's no reason to be negative. There's no reason to bring that negative energy with you. You leave it at the door because positivity is contagious. And if you have that ability to really brighten someone's day, it can go a long way. But if you take the opposite approach of negativity, it can knock someone down on the day. And you're not pushing forward and making other people's lives better if you do that. And so while you see all the happiness and positivity from me on the phone, it's not always that way. But I try to leave it at the door when I go into meetings and when I have conversations with others. Um, quick thing, like biggest accomplishment. I've done some things in my life, like not huge, but I will say they're dumb, but the senior superlative at my school got most likely to brighten your day. That brightened my day for weeks, just knowing that I had that type of impact. And that also made me realize to continue that forward because it's a choice to be positive around others. And it was really, really cool to be recognized as that. So
I like what you said about it's a choice to be positive, right? Because after every, because everyone has bad days, yes, some people are in like crappier situations than others, but at the end of the day, like it's a choice to be happy or to be reactive, right? It's like maybe someone cuts you off when you're driving or something, or your train is like super late, right? It's like, well, are we just gonna like be pissed off and just start throwing things, or like, like I feel like
Yeah.
there's always, it seems like you're able to see the silver lining in most things.
It's control what you control, right? Like control what you can control. Um, yeah, when someone cuts me off driving, I'm not like immediate reactions like, oh, it's okay, keep on going. It's more of like, and it's like, all right, I can't do anything about it. So let's just take a step
Yeah.
back.
See, but at least you say I can't do anything about it, right? I think most people are like flipping the bird and like, I hope like your mother is like horrible and sick or something, and then you're just like,
uh,
wait, what?
no, no,
Like,
no. That doesn't take you anywhere.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that, man. I like what you said about it's a choice. Speaking of it's a choice, what made you want to um like get into like a sales, because I feel like not a lot of people have a sales degree or sales major. Like what
Yeah.
made you choose that option?
Yeah. So the short answer is I wanted a job and I didn't want to leave college with a ton of debt and not have a job. And I remember I was sitting in my first class freshman year, and Laurel Monroe, she's actually a LinkedIn Sales Solutions relationship manager. She was the head of the Shea Sales Center, which is at Ohio University. It's a certificate program. It's 8:30 in the morning. We're at our first class, and she walks in. Everyone's groggy-eyed. I'm being the try-hard student that I am. I'm sitting like second row. Don't want to be first row, but probably like second row, just to make sure that like, hey, I'm here, and then I'm showing face. And that day in class was literally introducing you to the College of Business at OU. And so all these different organizations, majors were coming in talking. And the only one that talked about anything about getting a job was the Shea Sales Center. And it said,
Uh,
we have 100% job placement upon graduation for anyone that
wow.
leaves here with a certificate. And I
Huh.
said, sign me up. I am in. You had to go through the interview process and all that good stuff. But
Hmm.
that was really the turning point of going into sales. I knew it was a journey that would potentially go down at some point, just from feedback I got from people telling me that I never shut up and that I'm good at communicating with others. But that was when I'm like, all right, I want a job. Let's go do this.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of envious of you because you took like an intentional process in your career, right? I
Yeah.
I feel like I've taken more of like the long way, definitely like a late bloomer.
Hey,
But
there's no right way or wrong way. You always get to the finish line either way.
yeah. But so you decided to get into sales, and what was something you realized? Because I also thought that too, right? I was like, oh, salespeople are good at talking, but then you realize like it's actually the
Yeah,
opposite, right? It's
yeah,
like,
listening.
yeah.
Yeah,
So how did they teach that in the with your degree as well, or?
totally. I mean, so we would do role play after role play. We had sales competition teams. And the big key in being successful with those is asking the right questions. And to ask the right questions, you have to listen to the answers that you're receiving from the person that's across from you. And if they say something and then you're just waiting to talk, waiting to talk, waiting to talk, or waiting to ask the question, there's a good chance you miss out on 90% of the content that they say afterwards, which really could have been a silver bullet for you in terms of how you can position the product that you're selling. And so going through these pitches, doing these demos, we really learned how to hone in on the customer. So then we could ask smart, open-ended questions on the back end.
That's awesome. I think I learned the hard way through trial and error from just doing like mad side jobs, like
Hey,
selling stuff.
I'll be honest, Davidson. I mean, even getting in role at LinkedIn or at internships, the first natural inclination for me is to talk and to talk about the products and to tell them why we can help. And whether it's someone that's gone through a major or certificate program or just kind of fell into sales, it's going to be something that they have to get used to for the rest of their career. And something to continue to get better at. And I'm definitely no pro at it right now. I'm still trying to work at
Love it, man. So humble. Love it. That's why everyone loves A Rado. Um, I wanted to mention, so I'm gonna read something that was really cool. So um Grace said, Alex Rado continues to impress me. Alex sales ambitions is through the roof and his growth mindset is inspirational. Beginning at OU, where he committed to learning the art of and science of sales, Alex takes every opportunity to grow into an exceptional sales professional. He's organized, tenacious, and goes into every week with lists of goals that he shares with his MAP account executives to ensure that we're working towards the same end game. He eagerly seeks out feedback and creates a game plan to implement that feedback. Best of all, the guy is a pleasure to work with. LinkedIn Sales Org is lucky to have Alex on the team.
it.
That's
So
pretty cool.
that was from Grace McGill. So she's
Yeah.
one of my mentors here at LinkedIn, one of my MAP AEs when I was working in sales development. First off, made me blush a little bit there. Second off, I mean, those words coming from Grace is one of the highest compliments you could get, just knowing that um, Grace is such a powerhouse in her own right and such a great leader, mentor, that it's a pleasure that I have her in my corner and her saying those things.
And I feel like first impressions are like really important, right? You know what's like what really I remember like when I think of you, it was like when you were so open to reaching out for feedback, right? Working because we were working with the same uh, team, and then you reached out for feedback on how you could be better and improve and stuff. And like, like I feel like that takes like such a humble, like it takes a lot of humility to do that.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's always important to get feedback and have that growth mindset 100%. Also, like no one has the secret sauce, right? Like everyone in sales looks for that secret sauce. And
Yeah.
it's good to get that feedback, but it's also like I might be good at one thing in sales, but Davidson, you might be really good at something else. And then
Right.
maybe Mackenzie on our team is a beast at something else. And so I had
Mm.
actually a mentor at one of my old companies. His name's Taylor Rex. He called it Franken sales, taking
Huh.
something from everyone and taking feedback from that person, and combining the
Uh,
approaches to really make something that was unique to yourself. But in reality, it's just to put together a hodgepodge of people around you that are doing great at their roles as well.
that's awesome. I think what I took from you was like when you reached out, I'll never forget like when you reached out to me, like, hey man, what's going on? And I was like, man, like I need to do more of that, because I don't randomly like call up people like that or hit people up like
Mm,
that. So that was like really good for me. And then because of that, I think I've been doing like a lot more coffee chats, which has made me way happier in general,
yeah.
I'd say.
We're working in a remote world, whether you're at LinkedIn, whether you're at another organization. And my favorite part about LinkedIn was the relationships that I got to build, the ones that I could run over to Davidson's desk and say what's up and say how the day's
Yeah.
going. And we're missing that, right? And
Yeah.
it's a bummer for me. Like that's where I draw a lot of my happiness from and a lot of my
Mhm.
energy from is other people's energy, other people's happiness. If you couldn't tell, like I'm an extrovert, and yeah, we don't have that anymore. And so I would agree, like my mindset and happiness shifted when I started to realize like, hey, it's okay just to shoot people a team and say, hey, do you have a minute just to chat and say what's up? And I think being intentional with that, but also respectful of their time is super important. And I would agree, it's definitely brightened my day doing that more.
It seems like in your word choices, you're intentional, right? You're very mindful and thoughtful about like a lot of things, like your approach in life and just how you think about things. How does one, I know this is like a pretty loaded question, but how does one practice that like thoughtfulness, especially maybe we have a bias towards like action and maybe like just going after it?
So just being intentional with the things that you do.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just go back to Jeff Wiener's quote just on being compassionate. And it's trying to understand and put yourself in someone else's shoe and then acting upon it. Um, but I don't think there's really that one key. It's just thinking about and caring about the person across from you and really truly wanting to know how they're doing. It's not artificial. It's not something that you have your own agenda for. It's more of just actually having a genuine curiosity of how someone else is doing and wanting to know. Um, and so am I the best at it all the time? No, like I try to mix it up. I try to like reach out to different people. And If they come to my mind, like the first thought that comes to my mind is, hey, I haven't talked to them in a while. Let's see how they're doing. And so maybe trying to put that into practice of wondering how that other person's doing whenever you're talking to them, I think helps me a little bit just to hold myself accountable.
I love that. Like what you said, like it's very genuine, right? Because I think people can feel it if it's coming from a place of like, well, they're just doing it just because they have to, or like they want something from me. Like, hey, like you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours.
Yeah.
But you're definitely with you. It doesn't feel like quid pro quo, right? It's very like genuine, right? It's like, hey man, like I'm thinking about you. You know, it's different, right? And I think most people are like more like, well, I would only if you help me, I'll help you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, my favorite part of the days at LinkedIn is when I get like random text calls, Teams chats from like colleagues and coworkers just saying what's up. Like I can tell you I've had conversations with you that have lasted an hour, just random chat and being like, hey, what's up? And it turns into something else. Alisa, Jordan Fish, those conversations turn into like an hour long and they're fun, right? Like it's just a
Mhm.
break from the day, but it's also talking to someone that you care about, right? And so being able to
Mhm.
have those part of your day and like when I receive them, like that's what I enjoy. And so I try to reciprocate and hopefully brighten someone's day in any way because we're all with four walls around us and nowhere else to go. So
I remember meeting you for the first time when you came to New York for the onboarding, and you were just smiling the whole time. And I was like, man, this guy is the man. Like he's just always happy.
dude, I'm a kid in a candy store or whatever. Like, come on, Empire State Building, never going to New York in my
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
and then showing up there with LinkedIn with a new role at LinkedIn Learning. Come on.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. I feel like a lot of us are always on to the next, right? It's hard for us to truly be present in the moment sometimes because we're like, well, if I do this in 6 months, I'll get promoted, and then this, and then I'll buy this house. And it's like some of us, I feel like can be a little bit more appreciative of like the luxuries and some of the privileges that we do have as a LinkedIn employee, right?
Sure. That's something I'm actually working on is to be a little bit more present and not thinking about what's next, whether that's personal life or whether that's work life. Uh, it,
Mm,
it is important to live in the moment because before you know it, it's just going to blink and it's gone.
mm,
And so when you are more intentional with the things that you're doing and really slowing down, I think it does up your happiness a lot. But
mm,
that's probably the big thing that I'm working on the most right now is trying to slow things down because everything feels like it's moving at 100 miles per hour in a world that like I wake up, make breakfast, sit down, start working, find some time to work out. Like it's just yeah,
mm.
it's it being such a Groundhog's Day effect that it's tough to slow down.
Mm.
And so, if you got any suggestions, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a practice that I'm doing as well. What's helped me is I recently did this Tony Robbins mastermind, and every morning he calls it the power seven question, like power morning questions, which are seven questions. So it's what am I proud of? What am I grateful for? What do I appreciate? Um, what so like yeah, so a lot of it's like more of like the positive emotions, and then you do it every morning when you wake up, and then it helps you be present to like, oh wow, like I've had like a pretty productive day last day. And then three questions when you go to sleep is like what impact did I have today? So it's like who have I impacted? So it's like how like which in which ways was I being of service?
Sure.
And then so for me that's been really cool too. And it helped me kind of just be able to like calm down and be like, okay, like I had a pretty productive day.
I like that. Send that to me after we're done.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
really cool. Like I feel like it's helped me kind of like start my day off, not like rushing straight into things, but like
Yeah.
just like,
Slowing
okay,
down.
I'm good. You know, I'm in a good place.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's a good thing to practice. And it's just like kind of journaling, but in that case, it's intentional questions to think that are thought provoking to make you think about. And then if you achieve those, right, then you feel more potentially feel more fulfilled and it does slow you down a little bit. So yeah, shoot those over to me.
I got you. Awesome. What advice do you have for people who want to get into a LinkedIn? Because I do get reached out by a lot of folks who,
Sure.
want to eventually work at LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just being yourself and showing who you are through the interview process. Um, Everyone's going to have potentially that experience or um, have that experience, have that potentially like background, but being yourself through the process and being genuine and making the person across from you feel like, hey, they're actually getting to know you is super
Mm,
important because then you can build that personal connection instead of not being robotic or artificial through it. And I don't think many people try to
mm,
do that in interviews, but I think a lot of times people get wound up a little bit
mm.
and it can show. And so when you kind of relax, take a deep breath and just be you, it's going to work itself out.
That's good advice. It's very simple and almost cliche,
Yeah.
but you're right. A lot of people don't. I think sometimes we try to think what we think they want us to be. So like it's like I'm trying to think what you are, but I don't know. And then
Yeah.
and then you end up being something totally different,
Yeah.
you know?
No, yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, and I agree. It is a cliche response, but if you do that, that's controlling what you can control is being yourself. You can't control what the other person
Mm.
across the, I guess now in the Zoom conference link or whatever is thinking. But if you're being yourself, that's what you can control. It's not what you want them to hear or trying to figure out exactly what they want to hear. It's about what you want them to hear about yourself and know about you and why you're the great fit.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you're very comfortable in your own skin. Um, were you like always like that
You
even
gotta
as a
be,
kid?
man. I'm bald. I've been bald since I was like 21 years old. Like, come on, come on.
What are your thoughts on are you familiar with the concept like I call it the Benjamin Franklin. So
I thought you
it's
were
like
gonna call out Benjamin Button on me there.
no,
Like, damn.
that wouldn't be appropriate.
Uh,
It's called it's like self-deprecating humor. So like
I
a lot,
mean, yeah, like at that age, like you got to make fun of yourself before someone else does, because if you let it get to you, I mean, whether it's that or anything else in life, yeah, you got to accept the. I mean, this is not a flaw, but don't call this a flaw. But you got to accept the flaws, and you got to accept certain things just to be able to potentially appreciate the humor in them and just not worry about things, right? Like I
yeah.
said, control what you can control. Like Rogain's not doing anything up here. I can't control Rogaine. I can control the other stuff though. We're off topic now, but yeah.
No, actually, it is perfectly on topic because you know what I noticed from that statement? You owned it, right? I think most people be like, "Oh, I'm fucking bald. This sucks," right? But you're like, you know what? I'm owning this. I'm bringing it back. I'm
Yeah,
making it
let's
look
go.
cool. You're like, I'm making Jeff Bezos follow in my footsteps. You know what I mean? Like,
No, that's what he did. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So actually, that's a huge lesson because I'll just use me for example. Like I'm short, right? If I own the fact that I'm short, like maybe when I meet, because the other day I met someone and we've only done Zoom, right? So he's like, "Oh, I thought you'd be a lot taller." And then normally, like if this was me 10 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh my god, that's so embarrassing."
Mhm.
But I was like, "What did you think I was gonna be like 6'2" and devilishly handsome?" And he's like laughing his ass off. He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's I kind of did."
I mean, maybe not 6'2", but devilishly handsome though.
But yeah, so no, that's a good takeaway, man. Like I think if we were to own more things that we're kind of afraid of showing others, I feel like we just live happier lives, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree. Be yourself. It comes back to being yourself.
Yeah, man. Dude, you have the wisdom of like a guru, like an Indian guru, like
Uh,
a yogi.
like a yogi. I mean, Gandhi's bald, right? So I could be like a
Yeah.
Gandhi. Yeah, there we go.
You're like the white Gandhi. I bet you no
Brother.
one's ever called you that before, the white
Oh no,
Gandhi.
trust me. So off topic, but we had a PowerPoint party. Um, PowerPoint party for anyone's is you choose your topic, could be anything random. And one of my buddies did male. It was just because it was a dig at me, which was hilarious. Um, did a male pattern baldness as a worldwide epidemic, and he threw like a number out, like $2 billion, and then up on the screen it pulled me, The Rock, Ben Diesel, and Gandhi up there. So
That's
yeah, I
hilarious.
mean, kind of. It was inadvertently called me, I think.
Well, the thing that all four of you have in common is that you know at the core of who you are and you just own just being you.
Love it. Yep. I'll take that. I'll take that.
That's pretty, I mean, that's high company. I
Sure.
think so.
Yeah. Um, nice. Davidson, question for you. Back to you. What, like, I'm curious is, I love that you do this podcast. I love that you want to share wealth and knowledge and provide different value to different learners and stuff. But I'm curious, like, what drives you to do it? What makes you interested in it?
Yeah, I think so many people want to work at LinkedIn, right? So I created a playlist called the LinkedIn Mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, if you expose yourself, because you're the average of the five closest people to you, right? I truly believe that. So a lot of times, instead of hopping on like 1 hour calls, I mean, I do that too, but sometimes I'm like, let me just scale this out. It's like, boom, listen to all these people and you'll get in no sweat.
Sure, sure. All right, I dig it. I
So
dig
that's
it.
part of it. And then
Yeah.
the other thing was, yeah, I mean, I think everyone just has a unique story, right? Everyone has something cool to share, like you said, like whether it's Elisa or, I just had Andre on the podcast. Like everyone is so unique and everyone is just so cool just being themselves, right? So I wanted to highlight, and one of the cool things I've gotten from this is like, for instance, like Alicia's family like listened to it and they were so proud of her. They're like, yeah, my mom watched it like 5 times.
Oh, that's
And like
awesome.
for me, like I love when I hear that, like that makes me so happy because I want other people to feel that way about. And then I've gotten that feedback from a lot of like Linder, like a lot of Andy's relatives, like his uncle, his aunt, like they all forward it to each other, and that
Yeah,
makes me so happy that like I'm able to celebrate all these amazing people.
that's awesome. Kudos to you, man.
Yeah, and not gonna lie, it helps me sell more too.
Well,
Selfishly,
it's those Franken sales, man. You're
yeah,
taking bits and pieces.
exactly. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, if I can have fun like Alex, if I can be like, you know what I mean? Like I try to like, I'm like, if I could be like, like more like chill like Ali, if I could like, if I'm like, then I would be able to be more successful, right? So I'm essentially stealing your strategy right now.
Hey, it's great to take samples of everyone and be able to put something together like that. And um, at the end of the day, you've had 109. Well, considering if I'm okay, but like 108 great people on here that are awesome. So it's definitely well worth your time. It seems like.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. Like Brian Morrow, like Liz, Mimi, like Melissa, like all Bree, like all these
Mhm.
people, like man, I'm like, it's awesome. It's like getting a free MBA,
Sure.
like
Yep.
how to sell MBA. So
Love it.
awesome, man. Well, a few other questions. We'll make it interesting.
Okay.
So what's something that no one knows about you that they that you don't tell most people, or something that they would
I
find
mean, I don't
interesting?
wear it on my sleeve necessarily, although I've really opened up to it. But I mean, you will not find a bigger Marvel or Star Wars movie comic nerd.
Wow.
I'd be hard pressed if you've met anyone more of a nerd than me. I
Wow.
watch everything. Watch fan videos,
Hmm.
um, watch like different what's it called? Like theory videos and stuff. Spend a
Huh.
lot of time on that. So
So I do have a question for you then. Do you know who Stunner is in the comic book world?
did I just lose all credibility?
The reason why I asked is that's my pledge name, and it is one of the characters.
No, I actually don't. Stunner Marvel.
It's the person who kind of like killed, like, is it Spider-Man? Um
Yeah.
in one of the comic books.
Okay. Well,
But
maybe we'll see Stunner coming up in one of the next movies. You never know.
maybe.
We'll
How
see.
about what do you know about Thanos?
Oh, I. So yeah, Thanos was selfish. Tries to collect all 6 Infinity Stones. takes out half the universe. We defeated him. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my little bro's in my fraternity. That's his pledge name. And then my other little bro is Deathstroke. I don't know. Have you heard of Deathstroke?
Do you guys just name each
My-
other's like
yeah, my whole
office?
lineage. So my lineage is the so Hulk was like, and then we have Punisher, and then Xavier is my big bro. So yeah, our
Punisher's
whole lineage is the
like Professor Xavier.
yeah.
Okay, nice. Had to be
Yeah.
smart.
And he's also bald, my big. So
Perfect. Yeah, there we go.
um, that's awesome. How about what's like an interesting book that you've read recently? Or anything interesting?
Honestly, selfishly, like this is not interesting, but so I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. I'm a massive Dayton Fire basketball fan. Did I go to the University of Dayton? No, I did not. Um, but I have been going to games since I was 2 years old. Follow every game, watch every game, read about them. And Dayton, unfortunately, the season got cut short last year, but they're going to be a number 1 seed going into the tournament. And there was quite a few tragedies that happened in Dayton. We had a tornado that wrecked through the downtown area. There was unfortunately a mass shooting downtown, and Dayton was getting knocked down. And the basketball team last year, because Dayton basketball, it's 14,000 people sold out every game, no matter who we're playing, doesn't matter. And we had that great season, and literally the entire city rallied around this basketball team. And I'm getting chills thinking about it personally, and how much it meant to the people. And so anyway, Larry Hansigan, who's been the voice of the Flyers since 1982, wrote a book about last season, and just talking about the players' relationships, what it meant to the city. And it was like 200 pages. Finished that in 2 days. Like that's how I'm so passionate about like Dayton Fire basketball. And that was cool to relive what I went through last year, which was such a fun journey following that team. And hell, it's just a college basketball team. So
no, but it's like for me, even though I've experienced like so many beautiful memories in life, honestly, the college football games and the college basketball games were some of the highlights of my life, like hands down. Like when we beat Villanova, so I went to Rutgers, dude, it was nuts. And then my sister was there too. And we just looked at each other. We're like, like I didn't even know she was at the game. I just saw her. We were like storming the, oh my God. And then when we were on, and then my first, like one of my best memories ever was when we beat Louisville on ESPN, and we were both ranked in the top 10, and they were ranked number 3 and we were ranked number 10. And us, like, we stormed the field, and dude, it was insane. Like, I'll never forget that. Like the energy and just like, man, it was so cool, dude. Like I just remember that moment, and I was just like, dude, this college is amazing. Like I'll never forget this.
that's awesome. I lots of really cool memories. Just being around all those people, and everyone's excited about that one common thing. It's pretty unifying.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Alex. I appreciate you being on the podcast. Any like last minute words or anything, or how do you prefer people to reach out to you? If they think you're a cool guy and they're like, yeah, I need to get to know that guy, how would you want them to reach out to you?
LinkedIn, email alrado, RADO at linkedin.com. And give me a call, shoot me a text. I'm open to whatever. I'm not too formal when it comes to that stuff. Parting words is shout out Davidson for putting this stuff together. It's awesome.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. I just want to acknowledge you for being the glue of the team and just having fun at work and just making, just not only being able to be successful, but making it look easy, man. You do it with grace and style. Respect.
I appreciate that. It's not that easy, but we try. We try. All right.
Peace.
Sounds good. See you, Davidson. Thanks.